Good morning, CDT day 140. Just got camped, mostly packed up, having breakfast now, which is just like yesterday. I'm having my last night's dinner for breakfast. Just feel like it's just laziness because I don't want to go hang my food and I don't want to attract bears. So instead of cooking dinner in camp and then risking animals coming over to me, I just wait till the morning when I'm going to be vacating the site. So today's breakfast, or last night's dinner, is a mashed potato bowl. So I have this is the hell of a lineup. So I got Idahoan, but it's the new Wisconsin cheddar, and so that's perfect. And then throw in some peppered gravy mix, and then about half a bag of Tyson white meat chicken, and then about a third of this block of sharp cheddar cheese. And then, even on top of that, I also have some Oscar Mayer bacon bits. So, bacon, chicken, cheese, potatoes, carbs, fats, protein, all of your major food constituents that you want. So that'll give me lots of energy. And then for quote-unquote dessert, today is supposed to be breakfast. 2 packets of Carnation breakfast essentials. So that'll be my breakfast. So I'm just going to eat that up right now. I have a water spigot right next to me, so I can fill up my water, and I'll be good to go in a couple minutes. I'll even give you a little shot of camp, because it's actually really beautiful where I stayed last night. So that was last night's little flat spot. Please ignore the mess while I have breakfast. But those are the bushes that were supposed to keep me invisible. But it looks like the geography or topography helped me out even more, because that's the road. Now if you can see that stripe, that's the road into the campground. But there's actually a little hill here that blocks view, so that helped me even more. But here's this view this morning. You can see there's starting to be some color changes on a lot of the riverside trees, mostly because the streams create colder air pockets around them. So any trees in these valleys, and especially near the rivers, are getting a lot colder air than the rest of the area. So you got a nice little stripe of some color change, some beautiful mountains in the background. And actually behind these trees, you might be able to see it's kind of flat out there. That is an airport. Very small one, the Benchmark Airport, so it's probably just for puddle jumpers and stuff like that. It's still pretty cool. So the river runs all the way across, so I got to listen to that last night because it's, you know, right near my campsite. And I'll be headed somewhere in this direction today. I don't know anything about the elevation gain, so I could be in for a surprise, but I'm hoping it's nothing terrible, because, you know, these next 4 to 5 days I'm going to be doing a lot of distance regardless of elevation, so I don't need it to get crazy on me. I'm now just going to walk over to the water spigot so I can clean out my pot, get it ready for my Carnation breakfast, and then fill up my water bottle. It is 8:50 a.m. on Monday, September 16th, and I'm just heading out of camp. So a little bit later than usual, but you gotta factor in that I also already took care of breakfast. So like yesterday I left at 8 a.m., but then I had to stop for an hour or a little more to have my breakfast. So now that that's all done, I think I'm in pretty good shape. Alright, back on trail. Leaving the Benchmark area. So there were like, I think 3 campgrounds, a bunch of horse corrals, parking, all kinds of stuff. So I got to take advantage of a privy and a water spigot, which was really nice. And then also, you know, shorter trail. So I'm only about a mile and a half in right now. The last mile was on gravel road, and now I'm on trail. And in the next half mile to a mile, I'll be reconnecting to the CDT. And trail's pretty good so far. I'm noticing at the campgrounds there's so many people. If you can't already tell from the ground, this is a really big equestrian area, lots of horse riding. So I'm starting to think that we're getting into the even more scenic part of the trail, considering the last section I was on, I didn't see any people, yet they're all around here. So yeah, we got to be getting into some good stuff pretty soon. Look how clear that water is, it's beautiful. Now there's our proof. Bob Marshall Wilderness in Helena and Lewis and Clark National Forests. Sweet. We're back out into another burn area, but these mountains are just incredible. Wow. After a late lunch break, it is time to begin the climb. I am climbing up and over a pass that is about 2,200 feet above me. Big climb. Luckily it's over a longer distance than most of the climbs that you would see in, say, Colorado that are that big. It's going to be over the next 5.5 miles. So that's an average of about 350 roughly feet per mile, with I'm sure some being steeper than others. But so it won't be terribly steep, but for that to go on for 5.5 miles, it's going to be a long climb. A couple hours of just going up. So there will probably be breaks taken. Luckily, the end of this climb will have a great reward though. I'm pretty sure this will be the first time that I will get to see the Chinese wall. Now the Chinese wall is just this giant rock wall that's part of like a mountain range that stretches for, I think, like an insane amount of distance, like over 100 miles or something. You guys might know more about it than I, since I can't look up anything on Google right now. Regardless, it is a beautiful sight. It is one of the biggest reasons people come out here, I'm told. And I'm about to see it in a couple hours. So, getting pretty pumped for that. Well, here we go, folks. The Chinese Wall. Part of the aptly named Cliff Mountain. Of course, as soon as I get to the top of the pass, the rain starts, but that's not going to stop me from admiring this beautiful view. Look at that. There's so many amazing mountains in the background as well. Yeah, that's pretty gorgeous. This beauty just keeps on going on the other side of the pass. That is awesome. course I have to do one more for good measure as I look back at it. If you guys notice it getting dark, that's because I keep stopping to stare at this amazing geological feature, the Chinese Wall. It's so grand. It's hard to capture on camera, but this is absolutely massive. I mean, even that rock right there, that boulder that fell off, I mean, that thing is probably 20 feet tall right there. Just massive. Could you imagine being here for when that fell? Oh, it'd be crazy. You just start hearing a couple crack, 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 and then that thing lets go and it's in free fall and almost deafening silence as all you hear is the wind pushing past it for just a second, and then boom! Earth shaking, earth shattering. That'd be so intense to see. It's just so big, so huge, and it's just so hard to imagine how something like this gets made. This kind of looks like the temperate forests version, or its answer to Capitol Reef in Utah. If you've ever been to Capitol Reef National Park, or if you haven't, just look up pictures of it. It's basically the desert version of this Chinese Wall, and that's a really cool place as well. If you've never been there, I recommend it. There's some really cool hikes that go into the canyon, and sometimes it gets a little tight. Nothing like the slot canyons, but you know, maybe 20 feet apart, and they're hundreds of feet tall. It's pretty cool. Both the Capitol Reef and this Chinese Wall are absolutely massive and absolutely incredible things to see. Up and over the pass, and what's the first beautiful view I get? More Chinese Wall. This thing just extends forever, which makes it even more incredible. That is amazing. Yeah, it's a little too dark for you guys to see. I made it to camp. Basically, I'm down in what's pretty close to the floor, right at the edge of the Chinese Wall. If you can kind of see that line in between the trees, that's the Chinese Wall. I'm very close to it, a couple hundred feet. So I'm going to be very excited to watch the sunrise smack that bad boy upside the head tomorrow morning and have a beautiful view of that. But basically in this area, there's just some flat ground underneath some trees, fire pit, so obviously this is a used camping area, and there's a small creek that I can collect water from. So I'm going to camp here and end my night. I'm just going to have a little bit of food after I set up camp, and then go to bed. I'm not going to cook anything because I don't want to attract animals, so I'll cook my dinner for tomorrow morning for breakfast. So that is the end of the day. Our stats, I did 24.5 miles today and did about 4,700 feet of climbing. So not the biggest day, but definitely still a respectable one, and it keeps me right on that 25 mile a day average. You know, just a half mile short of the average, but the last 2 days I'm at like a +6, so I'm still at a +5.5 in terms of bonus miles, if you want to think of it that way, which I do because it sounds nice. I was really tired today. So I wasn't feeling it too much, so I'm glad to be able to keep my average with that. I also fell and hurt myself. I think I'm okay now, but as I was walking, I stubbed my toe on a rock, which I do 100 times a day, but this one I couldn't catch myself, and I landed on my right elbow and knee, and they're hurting a little bit right now, but I get the feeling that it'll be fine tomorrow morning. I've only fallen, I think, 3 times on the CDT. You know, unless you count falling in the snow in the Colorado, then it'd be 1,000 times. But falling on dry ground, that was probably the 3rd time. So a little disheartening, slowed me down quite a bit. I was a little upset, but feeling much better now, and happy to be in camp. And you know, maybe tomorrow will be a better day. I mean, I would not call this a bad day, even though I was like a little mentally out of it and a little slow. I mean, my God, the Chinese Wall is so incredible. That just brought my spirits right up, and it's going to be an amazing thing to wake up to tomorrow. So that is the end of my rambling, the end of the day. See you guys tomorrow, which will start my countdown of 10 days left on the Continental Divide Trail. Wow.